Hey bookaholics, it's Isabel and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be doing my top 5 disappointing books of 2018. So this is not necessarily going to be like hating on these books because some of them I actually did enjoy them. It's just that my expectation was so high that I didn't hit that mark and it just was very disappointing. Some of them I went in there with not expecting too much and it totally went under what I was expecting even though I wasn't expecting much. Some of these I just really didn't like. Let's just get right into the top 5. Number 5 is Other Broken Things by Krista Deserve. This one I don't have anymore. I initially bought this because it featured alcoholism, and you don't see that much in young adults. And I wasn't expecting too much, but I was expecting more of a comment on things going on in this book than there was. There was a comment on here that just wasn't really reached, that I think the author was possibly trying to reach. It was the fact that addicts, when they are going through AA, sometimes they do cling on other things that they become addicted to. And I feel like this is what happened in this book, but it didn't address it. Or if it tried to, it did it very poorly, and it just didn't hit the mark that I wanted it to. The main character didn't seem to understand what was going on and didn't try to change much. So I don't know. I was expecting more of a comment on alcoholism that it didn't do. So I was very disappointed in that. My number 4 disappointment was You'll Miss Me When I'm Gone by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This one, I saw someone comment on it, or I saw it on Goodreads and I read the synopsis, and I was very, very intrigued. It just came out, so I went straight to the bookstore, got it, and when I read it, it didn't hit me as I thought it would. Like, I was expecting to be very emotional, get very impacted by it, but I wasn't. It was kind of just like level surface emotion while I was reading this, and I didn't really connect to the characters. I didn't really understand some of the justifications, and it just didn't hit me as hard as I was thinking it would, and I was just very disappointed in that. So that was number 4 on my list. My number 3 disappointment is The Dangerous Art of Blending In by Angelo Sermelis. My friend and I actually came across it, and I was excited to read it and see how this one goes. So this one follows a gay character who is in a very abusive family, and I was expecting to have a profound feeling with this. I was expecting to be very emotional and get into this very, very quickly, but it didn't hit the mark. The writing affected it a lot. Didn't engage me in the story. I didn't feel too much for the characters, and some of the secondary characters were very surface level, and I couldn't understand the justification. I couldn't understand why they were doing it. It was just very hard to connect to the characters and very hard to connect to the story in general. Even though in the end I do think that this book is very important. It involves like very important comments and commentary on the LGBTQ community and what people experience, and I do know that the author had very big experiences in the same way that the character in here did, so I very much appreciate that. I very much appreciate that this will help a lot of people. It just didn't connect me in the way that I wanted to, so I was very disappointed in that. My number 2 disappointed of this year, which when I initially read it, I was reading it because it was made into a movie, and I was curious about how the book would go before I watched the movie. So I ended up reading it as an audiobook from my library, and honestly, I hated it. I honestly hated it. This one was Every Day by David Levithan. Did not care for this one. 1, it was insta-lovey. 2, it was very stalkery. And 3, there was also no justification for what the character was doing. So this book, it follows a person who is placed in a new person every day. Essentially, every day he wakes up, he's in a new body, and he has to live that life as that person. He ends up meeting this one girl and is instantly in love and has to see her every day and explain that he's in love with her and they should be together. That's pretty much it. That's the whole story. I didn't care for it. I didn't care for the main character because she person was just a stalker, and I just didn't like him. I didn't understand his justification. Also insta-love because the girl who he falls in love with meets him a few times, and she is convinced that he is not crazy and he is in love with her, so she falls in love with him because the boyfriend she did have doesn't care for her as much as she wants him to. I didn't care for this book. I didn't like it. I didn't even like the movie. The movie was just pointless. It's pointless because nothing changes by the end of the movie. If you guys enjoy this book, I'm happy you enjoy this book. I'm glad that a book made you joyful. It just didn't make me joyful. I really hated it. My number one, before I reveal it, just know that I did enjoy it. It was fun. It was fun to read. I loved seeing where the story went. But in the end, didn't hit me as I wanted it to. That was Leia on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. I think what affected the most is that I had very, very high expectations for this book. So when I read this, it didn't do for me what I wanted it to. This one follows Leia from Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda. What I really loved was seeing the characters, seeing Simon and Blue and all these other characters who were featured in that first book. Love seeing that. I love seeing their relationship develop. I love seeing where everyone was at this point. I did enjoy learning about Leia, but character was just hard to grasp at. He seemed very immature. I didn't really care for the romance in here. It was cute, but on reflection, I didn't see too much in it. It just seemed more random than anything. It felt like the author was just forcing these two characters together. I'm sad to say that this book did disappoint me. I did end up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I still enjoyed it. I had fun reading it. I really loved seeing Simon and Blue again, but in the end, this was the number 1 disappointed book of 2018. So there you go. Those are my top 5 disappointed books of 2018. Did have some other ones that disappointed me, but they weren't as disappointing as these 5. So I just wanted to do a top 5. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, please give a thumbs up. Comment down below what books disappointed you this year. Subscribe if you haven't yet, or if you want to. Whatever you want to do, you do you. Check out my other social media accounts on my Facebook, Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram. I make a video hopefully weekly, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye!